Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Broaden Your Horizon. I welcome the participants on Zoom and on YouTube. My name is Christoph Moss. I'm a professor for marketing communications at International School of Management. And yeah, we decided to have the presentation on corporate newsrooms in English. So I hope this is all right. If there is any trouble with it, please let us know. We will take about 30 minutes. So it's 6 o'clock now, I guess at 6:30 p.m. we should be ready with the presentation. If there is any technical problem, if there is any question, those who use Zoom, we have two groups, people using Zoom and people using YouTube. You can send me a message. People using YouTube now, I just have to say hello and you just can listen, so there is no interaction. We are sorry for that, but we are already working on that and we are improving week per week. So what are we talking about? Let me maybe check and share the screen while I see that still people are joining us. Hello, good evening. Christoph Moss is my name. And I just try to share the screen. So we talk about corporate communications and we talk about the corporate newsroom idea. Just hold on a second because I need a minute in order to share my screen. I guess you know the procedure already. So yeah, this is what we're talking about. It's the corporate newsroom idea. And what is that? Why are we talking about communication? So I think we all know that communication is the fastest growing system we have in society. And I guess the COVID-19 disease and crisis has shown us how important it is to be able to have digital communication. And yeah, then let's go into detail. What is the current situation? We talk about information, we talk about content, we talk about strategy, and we all know that communication is very, very important for the strategic goals of a company. So what is the current situation? We work where we like. So some of you are now sitting at home, some of you are sitting in the office, maybe some of you are sitting, I don't know, on the airport or on the train, and we can work where we like. So we can decide what we do. And what we want to do in communication is build bridges, right? So we share knowledge, we share information, and we communicate together on social networks like Facebook, like Instagram, like WhatsApp. So it's building bridges and being very precise. Being very precise means it's a question of power and a question of control. Who is controlling whom? Who is monitoring whom? And this is a very European thing, to be honest, because especially in Germany, companies want to control information. They want to know what we communicate. So the special departments in the huge conglomerates, they don't always trust the communicators. They want to know what are you publishing there. And this means there is a long control loop, a long loop of checking facts, checking details, checking numbers. And this is against the whole digital idea. So this doesn't really help us. So we should talk about trust and talk about how can we assure that information is provided in a very easy way. Yeah, and above all, of course, we communicate in a digital way. So here you see a typical Zoom meeting. I'm not only a professor for marketing communications, I'm also the owner of a communication agency. It's called Mediamos, and here you see some of our team when we have our morning meeting at 9:15, and we always do it via Zoom. So here you see some of us. Some of us need some coffee. I see that, for example, me. And this is a typical situation now in companies. And for my company, I can say we will work in that mode even in the future. So we will not be with the whole team in the office. We will have a kind of shift system where people change between home and office in a 2 or 3 weeks rhythm. Okay, so what is the thing that we talk digital revolution? It is about communities. We live in a world where Zoom, LinkedIn, Xing, and all the others dominate our lives, right? So we call that digitization. Online dominates everyday life. your parents, your grandparents in the morning when they woke up, they read their newspaper with their coffee. What we do is we take a smartphone and we check WhatsApp, we check Instagram, we check emails, I don't know what. Maybe we check a local newspaper online. It's totally online dominated. That means that companies produce a lot of content, and huge parts of that content are redundant. And this is a problem because we produce stuff that nobody needs. It's too much content. Some people talk about content shock, and we want to have it in an efficient way. We have many senders and many recipients. That means we have students with ISM that have more than 80,000 followers on Instagram. So they are senders, they are media companies, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old students. They are really huge media companies, and they are influencers. They have influence on opinions, they have influence on information. And they turn the whole system of one sender and many recipients, it's totally turned into many, many directions. That means communication habits change. I just said we begin in the morning looking at the smartphone. We go to bed looking at the smartphone. We order tickets for cinema on our smartphone. We communicate via WhatsApp, via Zoom in groups. It's a total change of communication habits, for example, compared to the situation 10 or 20 years ago. And that means communities and companies and people produce information overload. We have not learned to select information. Some people have. People who have worked as journalists, they have that. I worked as a business journalist, for example, for Handelsblatt Publishing Group in Düsseldorf. So we have learned to evaluate information, to say, okay, this information is more important than the other one. But normal people, even in management education, you don't have that. You just have information, and then they tell you, do what you want with it, right? So this is something where we have to be aware about the fact that we produce information overload. And then we have journalism. Traditionally, newspapers, radio stations, TV stations, and of course, online media. And in former times, they were the agenda setters. They were those who were the opinion leaders, and they are completely losing that role. Some of them on Twitter are still very strong influencers, but they are as strong as other people are, as scientists are, for example, as YouTubers and bloggers are. So journalists are still leading opinions, but they are leading opinions like politicians and like a lot of other intellectuals. They are not the only ones. They were in the past, and they have lost that situation. And that means that only talking to journalists from the point of view of a company doesn't make sense. There are huge groups of stakeholders, and journalists are one of them, but bloggers, YouTubers, influencers, Instagrammers are several stakeholder groups like employees and neighbors and politicians and all the others. So we have to think of them and just look at the fact how many stakeholders you have. It doesn't make sense just to have one spokesman to the press and that's it. This is old traditional thinking. It's not the way we think in the year 2020. And then we need topic management. We have company strategy, we have a content strategy, and that means we have topics that are important to the company. And that means that topic management becomes a crucial success factor in companies. And that's what we tell the companies. What we are talking about here is an idea that it's just not like an idea from somebody working as a professor with ISM. We have already established that system we will be talking about that we call Corporate Newsroom in more than 50 companies all over Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. And we are now going abroad to the non-German speaking countries in order to bring the idea there. And we began with it 10 years ago with Siemens. We have done it for insurance companies, for car manufacturers, for banks, for non-profit organizations. So there's a huge range of companies that use that system, and just in order to show you how relevant it is to manage topics. Okay, so then let's talk about this corporate newsroom. How do companies steer communication? How do they control information? How do they manage communication? We call that corporate newsroom, and it's a kind of flexible, some say agile, content center in the company. Okay, so let's look at the first, let's call it thesis I want to share with you. It is, corporate newsroom is a question of mindset. It begins in your head. Here is the mindset in your brain, and here we begin to think. So it is about thinking and about asking ourselves, where do we come from? So when we go to a company, when my colleagues and me, my consultant colleagues and me go to a company, we ask them some questions, and we ask them, do you actually steer communication? So are you sitting in the driver's seat? Are you the person that is driving the bus, or who is it? Do you have a one voice policy, or is it several people talking, chit-chatting, and the person A says it's red and person B says it's green? Do you definitely have a one voice policy? Do you manage to communicate all relevant topics through all reasonable media to every desired target group? Question mark. Relevant topics, reasonable media, desired target group. So here you see already the way how we think. We have a topic, we have information, we have news, we have content, we have channels, media platforms, and we want to reach target groups, and we want to reach our aims with that. Do we manage to do that? Do we think in topics, or do we think in channels? So do we say, please just write a press note for me? Or do we ask, what is the information? What is the core information, and what is the goal you want to achieve with it? Topic or channel? And are we able to communicate 24/7? So what do we do if somebody asks us something on Facebook on Sunday evening, 10 p.m.? What do we do? Tell them, okay, we are in Germany, so please come back tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, because then we begin to work. Or do we get into communication? Do we get into dialogue? I think dialogue is better, right? So it's about communication, and this is the question we ask at the beginning. Second thesis, corporate newsroom is not a question of size. So is it for huge conglomerates? No, it's not. It is something we can gain. So let's rethink communication. What will we gain from the corporate newsroom idea? And here we see. We say less is more. We have slender resources, and we devote them reasonably through every channel. We are known to the public as a qualified partner. We communicate actively, and we see communication as a dynamic process of change. So what does that mean? It is about being very, very efficient in communication, to be very, very effective in communication, to know that people say we are qualified partners, so we have the channels, we have the media in order to communicate to them. For example, take the example TikTok. Maybe you say TikTok, no, it's not something we should do, but maybe you're looking for people working in your company. Maybe you're looking for 16-year-old school girls and boys that want to start their job in your company. How do you address them? How do you address them? By an article in Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung, or maybe by a TikTok video, or maybe then TikTok might be relevant. So you need the channels. Of course, it's not only TikTok, it's also the press, it's YouTube, it's Instagram, and all the others, but you need the right channel for the right target group. And you are acting and not just reacting. I think this is something very crucial. So that means get out of the silos. Corporate newsroom means leave the silos and work in open space. It is something virtual, open digital space. So what are we having now? We have channel 1, let's say it's press. Channel 2 is marketing. Channel 3, social media, right? So here you see the old silos, old traditional thinking. So the press spokesman writes his article. The social media woman writes her tweets, and she sends them. And the internal communicator writes some messages on the intranet. So it's a great many of messages, and they are sent through different channels to different target groups. The channels are okay, but why don't we have a pool of content, and we then decide this part of content goes to channel A and B, this part of content goes to B and C, and this content goes to A, B, and C together. Here you see already why is it interesting. So this is the old way we think. So this is the reason why we have put it into gray. So what we need is, we have the corporate newsroom idea, so a new form of organization, and we need a decision maker, somebody who decides between topic and channel. And that's the image we have here. We have the corporate newsroom model. We have put that, I already told you, we have already established that in more than 50 companies, and it's companies with newsrooms with more than 100, 180 people, and also newsrooms with 8 or 10 or 12 people. So this is the idea. Look at the table. On the left-hand side, there is the column called Topic Manager. On the right-hand side, there is the column called Media Manager. And on the top, you see the strategy team. Strategy team, they are the leaders, right? So they are the head of department. Problem is, mostly they are sitting in meetings, they are checking emails. It's very tough for them to be in operational business. So that's the reason why we need a managing editor. So we have people working on strategy and we have people working on operations. And the managing editor is the bus driver. He or she is the person that says, okay, this topic provided from the topic desk 1 is so interesting that we put it on media channel 1 and 2. For example, in this case, MA executives or online social media. So we have specialists for topics, we have specialists for knowledge, and they are the ones who work on the topic desks. They provide the content, and they are the link to the organization, to the departments, to the company. Right? And the question is, what is a topic desk? For example, a topic desk is research. For example, a topic desk is HR. It depends on the communication strategy of their company. So if the company, for example, 2 days ago, we had a huge NGO. We are creating a corporate newsroom for them. And of course, they have a special communication strategy. And they have a content strategy, and they say, okay, topic 1 is, let's say, gender. Topic 2 is sustainability. Topic 3 is research, right? I'm just inventing some topics because I'm not allowed to tell you who it is, but it's a huge organization. So, okay, topic 1 is gender. Topic 2 is sustainability. Topic 3 is research. And then we have specialists, and then we have a topic. For example, somebody is saying something, or this organization has something to communicate concerning sustainability. Sustainability in the COVID-19 times, right? So this is the topic. They tell the managing editor, hi, we have a topic, it's important, and we want to get this topic to target group A, B, and C. And then the managing editor says, okay, please put it on the channel, online social media, print, and TV. So this is the very, very simple process. Of course, what the managing editor is doing is supported by a special online tool. The communication system is a conference system. So they have a morning meeting, a stand-up meeting of 15 minutes. They have a weekly. And there they tell each other what kind of topic do they care for, what kind of channel is now important, and what is happening on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, and on TV or in the local newspapers, right? So you see how it's getting from the organization, from the company outside. This is the one direction. And on the other hand, you would see it from outside in, where somebody says, okay, on Twitter, they are discussing this and that. So this means we should change our topics, or there is something on the newspaper, we should care about that topic now. Okay, so this is the way how we think. It is first the topic, then the platform. This is rule number 5, and that means we have made a newsroom study with International School of Management. So we have done some research, and we asked, I think it was 150, 160 people in the DACH region in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, marketing, communication, representatives, and we talked about them. What is the newsroom idea, and what would you think? What is important for newsroom? And they said, most of them said the newsroom requires a radical rethink, moving from channels to topics. So it's not important to say I need an app. It's not important to say, I need an ad. It's not important to say, I need a press release. It's important to say, we have this topic, it's important. Please communicate that to this target group with that goal. And here you see it makes sense why we have KPIs, right? So it doesn't make sense to have KPIs and to say, okay, we have 10,000 shares for that picture. What does that mean? Well, some people like your picture, right? But what was the information you communicated? What is the communication effect that you have? This is the important thing. And this is the newsroom idea. So the corporate newsroom is efficient. You see here the picture of Marco Leuvering. He's the managing editor of Politie Nederland. This is the Dutch police in Den Haag. And they organize the whole communication for the Dutch police centrally in a newsroom in Den Haag. And their goal is to build trust, to catch people, bank robbers, murderers, people who have committed a crime. And they say, okay, this happened in Amsterdam, so here's the tweet, here's the picture. If you have any information, please call us. They do it centrally in the Netherlands, and they have significant numbers that show they are successful. So the corporate newsroom is efficient. It's the gateway to permanent change, and that means it's not a system you establish, like a website, and then the website is stable. It is something that's always changing. You know this agile picture. It is always changing because you see topics are changing, strategy is changing slightly, and that means, there is a certain challenge when you introduce that newsroom. And here again, some figures from our study, and the marketing representative says, okay, the most important goal is the internal and external integration of communication. We want to have a one-voice policy. Most important obstacle, rigid structures and silo thinking. Yes, and then we say corporate newsroom means transparent planning and communication. So everyone should know what are we talking about with an app, with an online-based tool, with something very clear, very simple, where you open your computer, not an Excel sheet, not a Word file, a tool that we, for example, call Scompler or Dirico or Desknet, very famous tools. You open them and then you work with them. Some of you may know Trello. Trello is also fine. Problem with Trello is that we have sometimes discussions about data security in Europe because the servers are not based in the European Union. Okay, so what are companies doing? Once again, coming back to our study. And here we see that people are already using a conference system and a topic plan. So they are communicating already. And I can tell you 10 years ago, this was not the case. They didn't communicate about their communications. Quite funny, right? So it's strange. They were communicators, but they didn't tell their colleagues what are we talking about. And now they do. We do it publicly. We do it publicly in the department. And everyone knows what they are working on. And yeah, we listen to the market. We listen to Twitter, we listen to Instagram, we listen to the press. And this is one of the most important goals that people have with establishing a newsroom structure. Positive reactions to dialogue offers and being more open to corporate culture. So it is dialogue. It's not like we communicate and please listen to us, please people outside. It is what are they talking about and what does that mean to our company? Yes, and maybe you see we have 10 theses. So this was 1 to 9 and this is number 10. And it's a very simple thing. It just says the question is not whether we will introduce a corporate newsroom, but when. So it's a question of time. And yeah, we have the opportunity to discuss that. So if there is any question, don't hesitate to write it into the chat. I think it should be possible. And yeah, otherwise, we are still open to your questions. So you can get us at ISM. You can just take my email, christoph.moss@ism.de, and I will try to answer your question personally. You can follow us on the several social media channels, of course, and otherwise I would just wait for some question. Typical question people are asking, does it make sense to have marketing communication together in one unit, in one corporate newsroom? Answer is yes. We published an interview with the insurance company Swiss Life Germany. It is on our blog. We call it Media Moss blog, mediamossblog.com. It is now in German language, but we will also translate it and publish it in English language. And there you clearly see marketing, communication are working together very well. So we started that project in 2016. We constructed a newsroom for them in Hanover and in Munich. And we put marketing together with communication into one virtual room, and they are definitely located in one room in Hanover and in Munich. So they communicate via video, and they have 6 brands, and they steer the 6 brands from their corporate newsroom. So yes, it is possible, and it makes sense. Problem is, in a lot of companies, communicators and marketers, they don't talk to each other. What is really a huge problem. But it's something that has to do with culture, that has to do with tradition, and that doesn't, honestly, it's not good. It's not a good thing, but I think we should overcome that. Okay, so we are nearly done. I just hold on a second. So if there is anything I can do for you, for example, answer the question, does it make sense for small companies? Does it make sense for international companies? The only thing I can say is yes. It's not a question of size, it's a question of mindset. And it is a principle thing. And we have some newsrooms in Switzerland, and you know Switzerland is German speaking, French speaking, Italian speaking, some kind of Roman speaking, and of course English. And the corporate newsrooms there, they always have to translate. And it's not just about language, it's always about culture. It's not only we put it from German to French or from French to Italian. It is always thinking in that Swiss culture. And yes, it's working, and it's working better than without the corporate newsroom. And don't forget, in times of the corona disease, how do you want to organize it? The only chance you definitely have is to have a flexible organization, and corporate newsroom is very flexible. Okay, that's it. It's nearly 6:30. So if I would work as a radio presenter, I would say thank you very much. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being so patient and being interested in the corporate newsroom idea. I say goodbye to those joining us on Zoom. I say goodbye to those joining us via YouTube. And if you're ever interested in joining International School of Management, don't hesitate to contact us. We are there for you, and you find us on the internet on ism.de. And if you are interested in corporate newsroom, it's mediamoss.com. So good luck, stay healthy, and thank you for listening. Bye-bye.